Challenges facing ranch relocation, changing the focus with the commitment to customer success. We head to the CK Bar Ranch. Crew, let's ranch it up. Good day, everyone, and thanks for riding with us on this all-new episode of the Ranch It Up Radio Show. I'm Jeff Tigger Erhardt.
And I'm Rebecca Wanner, AKA BEC.
A big thank you goes out to our partners, RanchChannel.com, Vollmer Angus Ranch, CK Bar Ranch, Wulf Cattle, Jorgensen Land and Cattle, Transova Genetics, Axiota Animal Health, bringing us Multimin and Lactopro, the American Gelbvieh Association, Imogene Ingredients, bringing us Pharmatan, Westway Feed Products, Medora Boot and Western Wear, Allied Genetic Resources and Allied Feeding Partners, LivestockMarket.com, EquineMarket.com, AuctionTime.com, the Tri-State Livestock News, RFD TV, Wrangler, and this fine radio station. Cow Country News, you know, the cow stuff.
According to the New York Times and Reuters, highly pathogenic avian influenza or bird flu has infected a sheep in northern England in what the government on Monday described as the first case of its kind reported anywhere in the world. While avian influenza had already been detected in cattle and other mammals, including in the United States, the infection of a sheep will increase concern over the potential impact of the disease's spread. There have been cases among humans which have ranged in severity from no symptoms to, in rare cases, death, but there has not yet been any confirmed transmission between humans. The virus is spread through contact with infected birds or other species, including through touching their droppings and bedding, although people can also catch the virus by killing or preparing infected poultry for cooking. Avian flu has been detected in cattle in the United States, with the Centers for Disease Control reporting 41 cases and 989 dairy herds affected as of last Friday. Experts say the risk to avian flu to the general public is very low. Now, trade updates. Mexico has become a huge importer of U.S. pork, but the government in Mexico City is now talking about self-sufficiency as trade tensions with Washington are about to intensify. In a recent meeting with domestic producers, the Mexican agriculture minister pointed out that the country's own pork sector only meets 53% of demand. Imports last year reached 1.4 million metric tons, a large majority from the neighboring United States. President Donald Trump in early February threatened 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada, imposed taxes on large numbers of imports from both countries in early March, and has vowed to tariff most other products on April 2nd. Canada has already retaliated against some U.S. products, including chicken, while Mexico is poised to impose tariffs on exports, including meats, if the United States carries out its threat next week. Pork demand has soared as Mexico has become more affluent. Last year, 38% of U.S. pork and pork variety meat exports went to Mexico. By value, exports to Mexico jumped 10% in 2024 to nearly $2.6 billion, more than the next two markets, China, Hong Kong, and Japan combined. The value of the U.S. pork exports to Mexico has more than doubled from $1.15 billion in 2020, and the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service projected further growth this year before the trade policy disruptions. Now let's turn our focus to Nebraska, where a crowd estimated at more than 1,200 people witnessed a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a $400 million cattle processing plant this week in North Platte, Nebraska, a project that Sustainable Beef LLC originally announced in 2021. The new facility is expected to provide about 850 jobs and expand beef processing capacity in the area, in addition to establishing more long-term sustainable growth for local cattle producers and family farms. The facility is expected to process an estimated 1,500 head per day, according to Sustainable Beef officials. We will have more on Sustainable Beef LLC and its new fed cattle grid pricing system with Red Angus cattle on next week's program.
Heading to the Ranch Channel sale calendar, coming up Tuesday, April 1st, Vollmer Angus Ranch selling 2-year-old bulls, yearling bulls, registered and commercial open heifers, including the National Western Stock Show Reserve Champion Penna 3 Angus bulls. Sale broadcast on DV Auction. That's Vollmer Angus Ranch, Tuesday, April 1st at the ranch in Wing, North Dakota. Thursday, April 3rd, Wulf Cattle. We heard from Casey last week, selling Limousine, Limflex, and Angus genetics. 257 spring yearling bulls, 63 fall yearling bulls, and 30 registered females. And remember, this is an online-only live auction, So you need to head to Superior Livestock or DV Auction to bid. That's Wulf Cattle coming up Thursday, April 3rd. On Friday, April 4th, CK Bar Ranch, SimAngus Livestock, SimAngus, South Dakota, selling 50 Simmental and SimAngus bulls. They're yearlings. You can bid and buy online at dvauction.com. In fact, we're going to hear from Kelly in just a few minutes. And then coming up the following Monday on April 7th, Heartland Cattle Company is having their online-only auction hosted by DV Auction, selling Simmental, SimAngus, and Angus yearling and age-advantaged bulls. That's Heartland Cattle Company on Monday, April 7th. It's time now for our first break, and when we come back, reevaluating and refocusing the ranch. The Ranch It Up radio show will be right back. Keep it locked. The Vollmer Angus Ranch annual production sale Tuesday, April 1st at the ranch in Wing, North Dakota. Not only featuring the 2025 National Western Stock Show Reserve Champion Pedigree Angus Bulls, the 2024 Steer Harvest data showed Vollmer sired steers graded 100% choice or better with 82% prime. Sale broadcast live at dvauction.com and all sale information available at ranchchannel.com. Vollmer Angus Ranch Tuesday, April 1st at the ranch, Wing, North Dakota. The 2025 world famous Miles City Bucking Horse Sale starts with horse racing. 6 days with pari-mutuel wagering May 3rd and 4th on Derby days, coinciding with the Kentucky Derby that'll be shown live in Miles City, Montana. Mother's Day is extra special with the moms free to the races and more races added May 16th through the 18th. The world-famous Miles City Bucking Horse Sale where the spirit of the West comes alive. For a full schedule and tickets, head online to buckinghorsesale.com.
Limousine, Limflex, and Angus, bulls and heifers, all from Wulf Cattle.
Join us Thursday, April 3rd for this online-only live auction. Bid and buy online at dvauction.com and superiorlivestock.com.
You want data-driven genetics? Wulf Cattle has them. Feed efficiency testing, actual carcass data, ultrasound, fertility testing, and physical soundness exams.
Limousine, Limflex, and Angus bulls and heifers from Wulf Cattle. Online live auction Thursday, April 3rd.
Wulf Cattle, superior performance and profitability.
Cattle Battle.
Welcome back to the Ranch It Up radio show, the most information packed into a 30-minute program that you can find at your All Things Ranching newscast. And so glad to be hanging out with y'all. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, rants, it doesn't matter. Give us a call or a text at 707-RANCH-20. That's 707-726-2420. Our email, ranchitupshow@gmail.com, and prowling around social media at Ranch It Up Show. Most in the cattle business are trying to manage their herds on minimal inputs. It makes sense. Keep those costs down as much as possible to maximize profits. You hear a lot of our guests say that they run their seed stock and their purebred cows as they would a commercial cow herd. Minimal inputs. Let's throw another dynamic into this mix about changing geographic locations. Kelly Erickson with the CK Bar Ranch out of Kadoka, South Dakota, faced that challenge and changed his focus and strategy to reposition himself for success. Kelly's family, they've been in the Simmental business for a long time, roughly 45 years. In fact, his dad was part of a group of about 10 breeders that helped change the dynamic of the Simmental breed to where it is today. Kelly, welcome to the program. Let's talk first about the geographic change from originally in the northern one-third of North Dakota to moving to the southern third of South Dakota. And in this move is where you were able to really hone in what and how you wanted and, quite frankly, needed cattle to perform.
Obviously, it's sure enough nicer winters here. You know, we don't have those long, down here in Kadoka, one of those long stretches of cold weather. But one of the significant things that I had to get used to when I moved down here is how bad the winter storms can be, the blizzards, things like that. Everybody thinks that North Dakota is so snowy and miserable. And be honest with you, I had never seen a storm dump snow like I have down here at Kadoka several times. Now, will that snow burn off? Generally, it will. When we get snow in North Dakota, it stays. But the basic premise of everything is the same. You know, we developed cattle that could survive on short grass, that grazed through the winter as long as we possibly could, as long as we had grass for them. Those cattle grazed. And it's a funny story. The first year I came down here, my father-in-law are out driving around looking at cows, and he's like, look at them cows way up there on them side hills grazing, and it's mid-January, and we're starting to feed a little bit. And he goes, why wouldn't they come down here for feed? And we went up there and looked, and every one of those was one of my cows.
Aha.
Because even when I was in North Dakota, I didn't feed those cows until around the 1st of February if I could help it. I didn't have a lot of equipment. I had a bale bed pickup and a skid steer. And hay was always pretty short supply. And so, and a lot of time, we obviously put lick barrels out, for a supplement, and there's salt and mineral, but I never cake those cows or anything like that. And I think it's made my cows into better cows. They're definitely going out there foraging longer, and then the other thing it'll weed out your poor cattle right from the start. I mean, if they ain't going out there grazing and maintaining their condition on their own, they show up pretty quickly because they're either open or just not the right kind of shape.
I think a lot of people can relate to getting by with just the bale bed and the skid steer. I'm going to add in a good horse, a good dog, and gas in the four-wheeler to that one. And we remember how we got started, and many times those philosophies, they flow through how we manage those cows today, be it commercial or be it seed stock. Minimal inputs. They have to survive. Adaptability. Just like that story, Kelly, that you told us about the cows grazing on the side of the hill in January. They were your cows. They were Kelly Erickson cows. I know your philosophy. Minimal inputs. They have to survive. They can't be babied. But now, on the flip side of that, let's throw in the dynamic of being a seed stock producer, raising bulls, and the need to capture lots of data, numbers, selective breeding. And you mentioned off air that your management is very scheduled, fairly strict of how you raise those calves, wean those calves, and different practices, and ultimately setting up those calves for success. And in your case, the next zip code for lots of those calves is just breeding walking bulls.
That's right. We make sure they get those 2 rounds of shots in the fall. They'll get their first set in late August, early September. And that's when we weigh our calves. The other thing, too, I'm going to put in there as management tools, we use the nose weaners on those calves, the nose flaps, and it's taken a lot of stress off of those calves. We generally leave them in for a week to 10 days, pull those things off, take those calves away from their mothers, and they're not missing that cow one bit. And it's helped a ton on the sickness, and it's helped those calves make that transition from that milk and grass diet to a concentrate or feed diet, quite a bit. And then, of course, about 60 days after that we give that first series of shots in the fall, we'll give them another set too. We're setting these cattle up for success right from the beginning. From day one, when they get their calf vaccination right when they're born, when they get tagged and weighed, to the branding shots all the way through the weaning process and beyond. And I'm a big believer too, and I know a lot of guys, they'll pour those calves, but and I'm not going to mention the product specifically, but I inject those calves with a really good dewormer in the fall, and it's really setting those calves up for just some tremendous growth post-weaning.
And through this dynamic of moving locations, you said your focus has changed.
The changes I made were breeding more calving east type bulls, instead of having those, for instance, like an 8, 9, or 10 calving ease EPD bull that I was selling. And now I'm focusing more on a bull that's, 13 to 15 in his calving ease number, and trying to get as much marbling bred into these cattle as I possibly can. I mean, the industry is moving towards that. The feeders know where these calves come from. So all I'm trying to do is raise cattle that my bull customers can make money on. Just in my own opinion, in the future, we're going to see cattle valued more based on their carcass qualities than we are on just strictly weight in the fall. And with all the technologies out there, these feeders know whether they're buying them at a sale barn or they're buying them at the scale out in the country or they're buying them on Superior or whatever, they know where these calves are coming from. And if you want your calves to be at the top of the market, you're going to have to raise those kind of cattle that those guys can make money on year after year, not just in the good years like we're having right now.
A few years back, I was a keynote speaker at a cattlemen's convention, and we were visiting about the history and the evolution of beef, specifically on the marketing side, providing information to the end user, to the consumer, And I asked this question: who has the ability to change our industry the fastest? Whose shoulders does this potential change rest on? And I pointed to a few seed stock guys that I knew in the audience, and I said, it's on your shoulders. You guys are going to be the ones that change our industry the fastest. And of course, I got a few, looks, a time or two. And after the presentation, I was visiting with them, and I said, guys, I guarantee that I sold bulls for you today. So, Kelly, I'm going to push back on you the same way and say that it rests on your shoulders, the bull guys, to move this industry in one direction or another, to implement change of product.
That's right. I wholeheartily agree. I mean, it all starts with the guy that's supplying those bulls to the commercial ranches. If you're buying a bull from them that's just strictly a high growth bull and has a low marbling score, low, small ribeye score, or whatever, are you advancing that guy's feeder calves any? That's my thought process. If those guys aren't making money off of my bulls, I'm not going to make money either. I just look through the whole industry and not just what you're doing specifically, what I'm doing specifically. I took a little bit more of a holistic approach to it. I get enough time sitting out here on horseback looking at cows that was one thing that I really think we as seed stock producers need to do, is think beyond ourselves and just making money, and think about what's happening for that next segment and the segment after that, the feeder that's taking those cattle to kill all the way to the grocery store. Do they have a marketable product there as well?
Kelly Erickson with the CK Bar Ranch. Great to catch up and have you share your story and philosophy of management, direction, and focus of your genetics with all of us. The CK Bar Ranch is hosting their annual production sale where you can take advantage of their philosophy and genetics Friday, April 4th at SimAngus Livestock in SimAngus, South Dakota. Bid and buy online at DV Auction. All of Kelly's information, including the catalog, videos, all their sale information, Kelly's contact information, links to DV Auction. It's all available in one stop at ranchchannel.com. Check it out Friday, April 4th. Crew, it's break time. When we come back, y'all know the drill. We talk numbers, sales, and a lot more of the cow stuff right here on the Ranch It Up radio show. Keep it parked.
ranchchannel.com. I'll give you just a few seconds to head there on your phone. ranchchannel.com, your farm and ranch network on demand. Bull sales, western events, product information, right at your fingertips on the ultimate cowboy-friendly platform. Want to follow up-to-date markets? ranchchannel.com. No need to dig for information on all these different websites. It's all right there on ranchchannel.com. Y'all are loving it now, aren't you?
Real world genetics from CK Bar Ranch. The CK Bar Ranch 24th Annual Bull Sale, Friday, April 4th at SimAngus Livestock in SimAngus, South Dakota.
Featuring 50 profit-driven Simmental and SimAngus yearling bulls, genetically enhanced EPDs, free delivery with many Homo Black and Homo Polled bulls. Bid and buy online at DV Auction with videos, catalogs, and sale information available at ckbarranch.com and ranchchannel.com.
The CK Bar Ranch, April 4th in SimAngus, South Dakota.
Get ready for the thrill of a lifetime. The world-famous Miles City Bucking Horse Sale is back, featuring one of the largest one-day match bronc riding events. Join us Sunday, May 18th at the fairgrounds for a PRCA-sanctioned spectacle where over 30 elite bronc riders compete for a massive $50,000 purse. Plus, add to the excitement with pari-mutuel wagering. Visit buckinghorsesale.com for full schedule and tickets. The world-famous Miles City Bucking Horse Sale, where the spirit of the West comes alive. Welcome back, everyone, to the Ranch It Up radio show. That time in the program, we check in with Kirk Donsbach, StoneX Financial Incorporated, recapping the markets from last week. Kirk, I haven't said this to you for a long time. Thank you for doing this each and every week. I just that popped into my head that, it doesn't matter what's going on. You always make time for us. And now that I think about it, I don't know if I've ever said thank you to you. So I'm saying it now. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Tigger, and I hope all your listeners out there get some value out of it.
Absolutely, they do. So what do we got for some numbers from last week?
All right, Tigger, we'll move right into it. As of Friday, March 21st, April feeder futures closed the week at 285.70. That's up 435 on the week. The CME feeder index was up 506 at 287.78. That left the basis versus March futures at positive 53 cents, or basically narrowed to even where you would expect it as it expires. And the basis versus April futures is positive 208. Did have a cattle on feed report this week. It came in with the cattle on feed at 97.8% versus last year against expectations of 98.3. The placement number came in at 82.2. That was a pretty bullish surprise in my opinion versus expectations of 86. So not only were we expecting a 14% decrease in placements, it actually came in at 18% decrease. The marketing number came in at 91.1 versus expectations of 91.9. April live cattle futures closed the week at 207.27.5. That's up 410 on the week. Cash traded Friday at 210 in the south and 214 to 215 in the north. That's $7 to $10 higher than last week. With the late Friday trades, the 5-area weighted average had no reportable trades. The basis, if we compare it to Southern Cash and April futures, was positive $2.72.5. Choice boxes closed up 618 at 325.45. The weekly slaughter was 560,000 head. That's down 24,000 head from last week and 33,000 head below the same week last year. Dress weights were down 3 pounds at 871 pounds, but still 24 pounds over the same week last year. The combination of lower slaughter and higher weights still left our production down 0.1% at 2.4% less than this time last year. Wrap this up. May corn closed the week at 463. That's up 4 1/4. Corn continues to consolidate in a sideways wedge pattern as it waits for the USDA prospective planting report.
Hey all, Mark VanZee with LivestockMarket.com. This week I have a fantastic lineup of production sales to tell you about. Wednesday, April 2nd, Schlesky Angus will host their 29th annual bull and female sale in Virgil, South Dakota at 1 o'clock Central and offer 140 bulls and females fed and developed on 40-acre pastures they will perform and develop for their new owners. Then Friday, April 5th, Roster Charolais of Spencer, South Dakota will host their annual bull sale and offer all top quality registered Charolais bulls starting at 1 o'clock Central. Also Friday the 4th at 2 o'clock Central, Breivik Charolais of Lewiston, Montana will host their Cattleman's Value annual bull sale featuring top quality bulls from the breed grown with an emphasis on calving ease and high performance growth. Then Saturday, April 5th, Panther Creek Ranch of Bowen, Illinois will host their 31st annual The Workin' Kind production sale starting at 1 o'clock Central, offering 80 powerful bulls, 120 top quality females, and 3 elite heifers. Also Saturday the 5th, Stipe Charolais will host their annual sale in Charlotte, Montana at 1:30 Central, offering top quality bulls from a program that emphasizes maternal genetics and calving ease without sacrificing performance. You can view and bid all these sales and more at LivestockMarket.com. Do you have a production sale coming up? Learn more about Livestock Market's easy and affordable online bidding services by visiting LivestockMarket.com or give us a call at 844-775-4762 today.
Ready to create alternative revenue for your ranch? Hey, I'm Shaye Wanner, and I host the Casual Cattle Conversations podcast. Letty Nickel and I had a great conversation about her experience using Airbnb and converting an old grain bin into a consistent source of income. Here's a little bit of what we talk about.
I live in a very desolate area. Like the nearest Walmart is 80 miles away. Denver's 5 hours, Wichita's 4, Amarillo's 3.5. So it's very remote where I'm at. And I kind of thought the same thing. I'm like, what in the world are people going to be coming to my area for? You know, and it's definitely busier during hunting season, deer season, that kind of stuff, bird season. But a lot of times it's just people stopping through, like just needing a stop before I go to Colorado Springs or Denver to the mountains, wherever they might be traveling. traveling from. We're kind of a nice in-between spot. There's not a lot of Airbnbs. There's not a lot of hotels to stop and stay. And a lot of this attraction, because it's a glorified glamping experience, so there's no bathroom in the grain bin. You have access to a bathroom in the Round Top, which is right next door. So we advertise it as a glamping experience, and we get a lot of outdoorsy people. And over the years, that's kind of where it started, but it's evolved to so much more now. But a lot of people are craving getting away from the city. They're craving getting back to the roots of outdoors and seeing a ranch or a farm in action, or waking up to cows in the backyard. So it's been really interesting to see that shift over the last 4 years.
Listen to the full story by searching for Casual Cattle Conversations on your favorite podcast player. Happy ranching, folks.
And now that's going to wrap it up for today. A big thanks to our crew, Kelly Erickson with the CK Bar Ranch, their annual production sale Friday, April 4th at SimAngus Livestock in SimAngus, South Dakota. All their sale information available at ranchchannel.com. Kirk Donsbach with StoneX Financial Incorporated. Mark VanZee, livestockmarket.com. Shaye Wanner with Casual Cattle Conversations, and the boss lady, Rebecca Wanner, AKA BEC.
A big thank you to our partners, ranchchannel.com, Vollmer Angus Ranch, Jorgensen Land and Cattle, CK Bar Ranch, Wulf Cattle, Transova Genetics, Axiota Animal Health, bringing us Multi-Min and Lactopro, the American Galvy Association, Imogene Ingredients, Pharmatan, Westway Feed Products, Medora Boot and Western Wear, Allied Genetic Resources, Allied Feeding Partners, LivestockMarket.com, EquineMarket.com, AuctionTime.com, the Tri-State Livestock News, RFD TV, Wrangler, and this fine radio station.
And crew, so glad y'all came with us one more time as we ranch it up. Be sure to follow and like us on Facebook at Ranch It Up Show. Our email is ranchitupshow@gmail.com. Call and text 24/7. That phone number is 707-RANCH-20. That's 707-726-2420. Spread the good word and join us again next week, where it's always Tigger and Beck approved.
Stay ranchy and ranch it up.